Hello and welcome to another episode of Enlightenment Through Understanding and Wisdom with your host, Jacob Strong. How are we doing today, everybody? Hopefully y'all are doing good today. It's a beautiful day out there. It's a little cloudy, which is good because then it's not too hot out there. Well, I am coming to you from my new office location here, where um, I think it's going to be a little bit better setup, so I can talk a little bit more and get a little more organized, hopefully, so that we can get more information out there to help people better. So, on today's topic, I kind of wanted to discuss some of the common phrases that lead to some common thought processes that are not correct. But they seem to spread. They seem to spread a lot. They seem to spread a lot in memes through Facebook and then, of course, just people talking and in general about them. And so again, I wanted to explain the what the mind thinks. And there's three types of consciousness. Um, you have your subconscious, your um, your awake, your active conscious, and then you have your suppressed conscience, which 99% of our decisions are factored in through that other conscience that we don't actively use. And the reason that our thought processes come from there is because we learned them at a young age, and so we don't even realize that we're acting on them. So, with that being said, um, we make decisions based off of those consciences, based off of those decisions that we make. The common phrase that's misinterpreted and misused a lot is, "I think, therefore I am." And what this says is this gives our mind full control over who we are as individuals. But that's not correct. I know it's a common phrase, and I know it's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but that doesn't make it right. Um, the body sends the brain more information than the brain sends the body. Let me explain this. So the so the Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Someone has just sent me a little gold medal there, so thank you. Um, so uh, so say you get cut. Your immediate reaction is to look. So the information from that action gets sent to your brain, which then causes a reaction to look and assess what has happened. The problem with that is it also works um, in reverse. When you're driving down the road and you start to slide sideways because you hit some black ice, then all of a sudden you don't realize it, but you're already course correcting. And so that's why the common phrase, "I think, therefore I am," is not correct because our body and our brains should act as one. So a lot of times we have to dig into our subconscious mind and our inactive consciousness to find out why we react and why we act the way that we do, or the way that we think that we do, because our brain is not giving any more information than our body is giving our brain. So they must be on the same wavelength. And I hope that makes sense. Um, a one of the pioneers of the modern world that has confirmed that the mind and body are inseparable is Dr. Candace Pert, and she relates this when she wrote in her book Molecules of Emotion. She states that the mind doesn't dominate the body. It becomes the body, and the body and the mind are one. So, so that's why, um, so that's why it becomes difficult um, to process once information has been entered into our brain. It becomes difficult to create a reaction that is safe um, with misinformation is because then our body starts reacting to what happened before, what happened, how it was able to fix a situation before, which doesn't always make that the correct response as well. Um, and so it's very important. Basically, the way that I like to describe the three levels of consciousness is it's like your computer, right? So you have your home screen that's active. It's got all your apps up. So imagine that's you looking, sitting in a room, and you're looking at the walls and the door and refrigerator and plants and whatever. That's that first level of consciousness. That's your active consciousness. Your subconscious is just below that. So it's just behind one of those apps, right? So someone says something to you, your response is, if someone says, hey, get me some milk out of the fridge, your response is, okay, yeah, I'll go get your milk out of the fridge or whatever. It's right there because you know it. The unconscious portion of your mind is the portion you were taught as a child. What is milk? You already know what it is because you were taught it many years ago. So that's the files that are hidden deep within the computer. That's the files that you don't actively see, and most of the time you can't even find them on your computer. At least as I can't. um, and uh, and so that's the information that's been programmed into you as to what is milk, what is paint, what is a door, and so you already, without even tying into your subconscious, you already know what that is. You don't even have to think about it. Your muscle memory doesn't have to change anything. It already knows what it is. And so with that being said, it makes a reaction. It has a reaction. It either does it based off of what happened before, what it was programmed to do from the start, um, or you can develop a negative reaction, even if you were programmed to do to just get the milk out of the refrigerator. Trauma can undo that, and so what that can lead to is say, if you were abused or beat for getting the milk out of the refrigerator, now you question, should I even get the milk? And so that's where all the confusion then comes into your body, and you're not able to discern what you're supposed to do or how you're supposed to be able to accomplish this task. And uh, and so and so that's what it's like for an empath is they may not react correctly. They may not react how a normal person would react under similar circumstances, because they've had a lot of trauma in their life, or they've had a lot of stuff in their life. And so And so it's about undoing that. It's about, you know, returning back to that place of understanding where that information came from. Is it relevant to the situation at hand, and how do we deal with it, and how do we identify it? How do we know that that's milk and not coconut milk or cow's milk or soy milk or some other kind of milk? Um, and so um, and so that's how it works in a relationship as well. Again, I was raised in a very abusive, violent home by a man, and so I became very gender biased against men, and I realized that now. But when I met my ex, I didn't think that I could. Um, I didn't think that I was gender bias, and so. And so, of course, as I've shared before, once I married my ex-wife and she moved out of my house because God told her to marry her ex-husband, even at that point, I still did not realize how deep the narcissism was with this woman. Because again, my mom is a wonderful person, and so I thought, no, no woman could ever do that. And so that's where you can see my mind didn't understand what my body already knew, and my body didn't um, um, wasn't able to convey to my mind what it believed. And they have that, you know, that saying, you know, that gut feeling. And the problem is you know, we as a society have tried to eliminate that gut feeling and try and take that out of the equation. And of course, it starts in the courtroom with, you know, you have to find someone guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt, and you know, you have to be able to prove and this and that. And instead of going by their gut feeling, and you know, that gut feeling most of the time is right. And it doesn't always mean that it is right, especially if you are not tapping into your energies. If you're not listening to your body, then you become numb. You become numb to those to that information. And of course, that's where dark empaths come from. That's the road that I had started to turn down to, was ignoring some of those signs. But I have always been super in tune with those intuitions. And so the fact that I ignored those just based off of a gender decision was a problem for sure, was a problem for me. But it also can, if you stay in that situation for too long, it can make you dull. It can make you to where your body doesn't even try anymore, and then your body just kind of gives up. And then your brain, because it doesn't actually know, it it just, you feed it a number and it just spits it out. And again, that's where the computer comes into play. Is your brain um, deals in numbers, but your body deals in, you know, energies. Your body deals in what it knows based off of what it feels, what it's picking up, what it's sensing. And so that's the importance of getting those two in line, getting the brain in line with the body, and the body in line with the brain. And and again, how we could do that in today's society to get those two to align is just by paying close attention to, when we meet someone, what is the three things that you are witnessing from them? Does their actions meet their words? Does their actions meet their body language? Does their body language meet their words? If all three of those are not in tune with each other, then there is an attempt to deceive going on there. And I like to give, this example. If you ask someone to help you and they say, "Oh, yeah, sure." Okay, well, they added the, "Oh, yeah, sure," but they don't want to help you. So obviously you can kind of know just by listening to their words that they don't want to help you. So there's going to be a problem with that. If they say, "Yeah, I'd love to," but then they stand there with their hands crossed, okay, now their body language is saying that they do not want to help you. But their brain is acting all optimistic and sure, going to be super happy and going to do that. And so you start, once you are able to start analyzing those, start picking up those, um, all three of those and aligning those out, then you can kind of follow your gut, your feeling, and you can start analyzing it and saying, and making decisions that your mind has to be open to. Your mind can't judge. Your mind can't jump to conclusions or jump to a judgment, because the minute your mind jumps to a judgment is the minute that it's wrong. And so that's very important to take the time to breathe at that point and just analyze everything. And sometimes we still don't get it all right, even off first impression. Sometimes we have to go back and reflect. And I do that a lot. Whenever I'm talking to someone, I go back and I reflect on what they told me, and I reflect and I reflect and I analyze everything that they told me. And and I just keep trying to go back over it to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And sometimes I have. Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, I remember they were standing there with one foot, with their left foot, twisted sideways, and their right foot a little bit farther forward." That in itself, that stance right there tells you that they are trying to turn and flee. Anytime their left foot is turned sideways and their right foot's a little bit forward, that means that they're trying to escape the conversation. Um, so uh, so again, and that's where body language is huge. Body language is huger than anything, because it's more important than anything, because their body is telling them, is 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 trying to do something different than the mind is trying to do. And of course, the mind wants to deceive first, wants to, especially if they've had any sort of trauma in their life or anything, then they could be people pleasers. They want to just do something just because you ask them to do it. But in all actuality, they don't really want to. The body doesn't really want to. And um, so yeah, so that's where it's very important, that the body is the navigator. The body is the navigator of it should be of our decision making, of our knowing, because that's really what's, it's had the most experience, dealing with it. The brain has the most experience in immediate problem solving, in a mathematical problem solving way. And so, you know, the brain says if it's a round hole, you can't fit a square peg through it. That's what the brain is there for. It does not analyze energies. It does not analyze um, any of those. And of course, I know, some of y'all might not fully agree with astrology, and so I want to be careful how far I go with this. But there is very statistical um, coincidence, a statistical um, characteristics that coincide with certain times of the year that a person is born. And so with that being said, again, that's where you got to be careful with the brain. The brain will want to just say, oh, yep, this person is this because they were born during this time of the year. And of course, that doesn't always make it right either. Um, and you don't want to become higher influenced, or you don't want to, um, get scared to where you're basically micro looking at what you would look, more than what you would look at on a regular person if you found out someone's birth date. And I think that that's pretty important as well because I sometimes can do that as well, and still do, to where it's like I'll hear someone's birthday, and I'll immediately tie something to it, before as I feel the rest of the situation out and listen to my body. And uh, and of course that can be dangerous because then you could stop paying attention to what that person is doing, and then you're just going off of raw information about someone. So yeah, so definitely, the body being a navigator, and working together with the mind is something that is critical, and is a way for us to stop walking around like bobbleheads. Um, there's there's a there is a growing trend, a growing consciousness that a lot of people you know, are just bobbleheads, and they their mind is just kind of up there, yes, ma'am, no, sir, type of reaction, and their bodies are stiff and um, um, rigid and don't know what to do because there's no communication within the body. And uh, and so um, and so with that being said, that's how you end up with a lot of these issues that I believe are coming up today, in today's society. And of course, we could go into the cell phone topic, but yeah, we don't have enough time during the day to talk about that. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. It's scary when you go to Walmart and you see a person getting into the wrong car because they're so busy looking at their cell phone, or you see a person so busy looking at their cell phone that they don't even realize that their 4-year-old or 5-year-old is about 50 feet behind them trying to navigate a parking lot. And I notice this stuff daily, and you know, I'm sad. I'm sad for what's coming. The other day I passed um, a guy on the sidewalk, and he was walking with his daughter, at least as I assume that it was his daughter. And she was walking on the outside, the street side, and she couldn't have been much older than about 10 years old. And and I just realized that they were walking with the traffic, and she was on the street side, and he was so engulfed in his cell phone that he didn't even realize that the first person to get hit if something happens is his daughter. And and so again, so that's where you can see even the disconnect is becoming so prevalent. our minds are disconnecting so much from our body that our bodies aren't even picking up danger. They're not even picking up morals or ethics. They're just dismissive of each other. And so I hope that this helps you all, and um, I hope that y'all come back and listen to another show. I might do another show tonight. I'm not entirely sure yet. Moving into my new office yesterday and today has been quite the undertaking, but I like it here, and it's a nice place for people to be able to come and share their concerns and hopefully be able to talk and hopefully be able to start inviting more people onto the show for live conversations. You know, people with people. That's what we need. We need to stop. You know, get our face out of the Facebook memes and become more energetic, more listening to the energies of people, of animals, of the weather, of whatever it may be. So at any rate, I appreciate y'all for coming to my little skit here, my little 20-minute video, and I look forward to um, having y'all back here again. And y'all have a wonderful day.